Now, it's time for our final guest, Miss Prachi Biswas, who holds a BSc honors in mathematics and is a gold medalist in her MCA. She is a growth mindset and transformational coach. She has been mentoring and encouraging youth people to reach their full potential and write their own success stories based on their fundamental beliefs and purpose. She has served as an advisor and panelist on a variety of talk programs on how to live a more full and meaningful life. Club Yukti is delighted to welcome you all.
The most certain thing in this world is uncertainty. So this is something that will always exist. Today we are, talking about it because it's a recent thing, COVID, that we all suffered together. However, uncertainties have been a part of our life always and will always be a part of our life. Today is COVID, tomorrow there would be something else. And the only way to go about it is to embrace it and nothing beyond it. So, you know, what keeps us going is basically what our belief in ourselves. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to keep our head over our shoulders. We need to be resilient, and we need to have the grit to fight hard to overcome any uncertainty that's there. So, yes, this is what I want to just add to what all you have already said, because there's nothing much left after you all have, talked about the uncertainties and the pandemic. So there's nothing much that I can add on. But yes, we all need to. And also, I would like to say that, I have a 10-year-old daughter. And for her, I mean, I have seen her grow over these 2 years because she took it as an opportunity to grow. She became much more confident. She made many more friends than, she had it in real school. And she learned what all and what not. She started with Japanese, Spanish, piano, vocal classes. So, this was, I think this is what she taught me, that, if we have these 2 years, we can use it as an opportunity to learn. And I think that's how, like, Mr. Ruchi just talked about, that, human brain is open to learning. And it's just that we need to take that opportunity, because now when, we have to rush morning, evening, travel, this, that, there's hardly any time to learn. So pandemic actually gave us an opportunity to grow as an individual. And that's what makes us humans, because we evolve and we find ways to overcome everything, and that's the reason probably we still exist and we are not extinct like dinosaurs. So I think that's about it. Thank you. Because we always talk about things like engaging yourself in meditation, yoga, and so on and so forth. But I think the first thing, and the first and the foremost thing, is acceptance and being truthful to yourself. Ensuring that you recognize and acknowledge your feelings. You answer your thoughts. That's very important, because you should not keep ignoring them. You introspect. You know yourself inside out, and you do not pretend. So I think that's the first step towards self-care: acceptance of what you are. And we always end up making people around us happy, but what we should focus on is also your own well-being. It's said that you cannot pour out of an empty cup, so you need to be full before you can make others happy. So, we should not ignore the signs and symptoms that we see in our own self. If we have a mental hassle, we need to acknowledge it rather than running away from it. And even I would say, for self-care, most of, people in our society ignore the physical symptoms as well. They don't want to visit a doctor. So this is a part of self-care, mental and physical well-being. First and foremost is we need to focus on our own health, both mentally and physically, before we move on to the self-care practices like yoga, meditation, because you will not enjoy any of that if you do not have that mental and physical balance within yourself. um, So this is what it is about. So you need to take care of your mental and physical health by not ignoring it and making it a priority. It's that's the way to go for self-care, because we cannot achieve anything until we acknowledge our own feelings and we acknowledge ourselves and we accept ourselves as we are. So this is what I wanted to add. So Ruchi, you can take over.
Prachi ma'am, I have a question for you. I wanted to ask that is it okay, like recognizing is one part, but for example, we talk about in terms of families. Due to the pandemic, as we got to spend more time with our families, many people were caught in very toxic family situations. Okay, you recognize that, you accept your reality, but do you accept being in that environment, or what is the right way to deal with it? That's what I want to
Yeah.
ask.
Okay. First, you're talking about toxic relationships. First and foremost thing I would like to, talk about is relationships. We have to understand that relationships need hard work. And fights and rough patches are a part of a journey. Any relationship, it can be a mother daughter, or a couple relationship. So fights and rough patches are part of it. So if you understand the core of a relationship, you need to understand what makes it toxic, and how do you recognize that it's a toxic relationship. It's when you're constantly drained in a relationship, or you're always unhappy and suffocated in it. That's when you name it as toxic relationship. So this is when you're mentally drained. But there are serious warning signs as well, like violence, abuse, harassment. So let's not go there, because that is probably a legal aspect. We'll focus on the subtle signs or indicators of a toxic relationship, and how we can deal with that. um, so before we move on to talk about how to deal with it, we need to understand what makes it toxic. It definitely didn't happen in a day, or COVID is not responsible for it. It always existed, and probably you recognized it because you are spending more time with your family, or you're spending more time with your partner. So during these lockdown, you have recognized that it's a toxic relationship, but maybe it already existed and you never had the time to think. So, of course, walking out of a relationship is always an easy solution. But if the harm is emotional or mental, we need to try to work on it before calling it a quit. Um, I think the first step is understanding why somebody is behaving the way he or she is. Maybe they are in a toxic relationship, either romantically or as a child. Maybe they didn't, have the most supportive, loving upbringing. Maybe they were bullied in school, or they could be suffering from undiagnosed mental health issues like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and so on. So there can be some underlying causes that we need to understand what the person is going through. I am a firm believer that if you try to understand the underlying causes, it becomes a bit easier to work on it. We need to find pockets where we can talk and put our points across. Because, when you're in a toxic relationship, you don't have that environment that you can always share. So we need to find those pockets where you can probably talk and, deal with it. um, we need to find ways to subtly bring a change, and we cannot expect something will happen, a magic will happen overnight and things would change. And also understand that the dynamics of a relationship works two ways. So it's not just one person responsible for it being toxic. We as an individual can control our actions. you know um, we need to control our actions and probably control things that probably is triggering the other person, and bring at least the peace in the relationship, and then we can try to balance it. um, Also, I would like to add on that human psychology works in different ways. Like, men and women think differently, they act differently. So we need to understand that where women wants to talk, men would want silence. So you have to understand what are the dynamics of your relationship and work accordingly. You have to take baby steps in getting or making the relationships better, you need to nurture relationships with love, care, and patience. You have to give your best shot, be truthful, draw lines from the beginning of what is accepted and what's not. You need to be consistent. And I think every relationship has different dynamic, different circumstances in which it thrives. So there isn't any one best solution of living in a toxic relationship or coming out of it, but we need to look for inspiring stories around it, probably read for solutions, and do something about it. So, in the end, I would just like to say, try your best. And if it still does not work and it's disturbing your peace, you have to take the big step of walking out. So, love is beautiful, but it's not worth if it's disturbing your peace. So at the end, yes, mental health matters. So you can, try doing all that's possible. But then, of course, if nothing works out, you have to walk out. That's the only solution.